here we go. So, it's been a while since I've opened this, probably about a year. And, let's see what's broken, shall we? Okay, so, already, Strack has broken his leg.
Get up, Strack!
The glue didn't hold up. I didn't expect it to. Oh well. Let's see the other Glatorians over here. Okay. Terex was breaking a lot. He seems to be doing better. As far back as I can remember, I had Broken Bionicles. Now, to put into context, I'm quite a young Bionicle fan. I mean, keep in mind, I was born in 2001, so I only had a limited window before my generation was up, so I got my first Bionicle circa 2009. Now, my first Bionicle was Gresh. He was part of the 6-wave Glatorians, which somehow I managed to get all of them, including the Agori and the 2 Titans of that year. But unfortunately, Gresh was the first casualty of my ever-growing collection of Broken Bionicles. I remember when Gresh broke, I was so heartbroken. At the time, there was nothing I could do. There was no service I could call as far as I was aware, and my parents weren't willing to buy replacements because they thought I had broken it. So, I was stuck with glue and tape. Now, of course, I'm unsure how many are broken at the moment, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say almost 90% of my 2009 Bionicles are broken. For years, my parents thought it was me doing something wrong. They refused to buy me extra sets because they thought I broke them intentionally. Of course, I kept trying to reason with them that more and more of them were suffering from cracks and various breaks. Of course, I ended up dismantling my Bionicle collection somewhere around 2011 since I was moving away from my old home and I needed to store them somewhere. And eventually, I never put them back together because I was afraid they would break. Now, eventually I did put them back together for nostalgic purposes, but unfortunately a lot of them I held back together with glue and replacement pieces I have. And that's the reason many of them have discolored pieces. But unfortunately, even to this day, pieces are still continually breaking, and I don't know what to do. Now, of course, for years, I thought it was only me suffering from this, but when I joined the Bionicle community, I realized this is a wide-scale problem. Now, truth be told, nobody really knows why this occurred. There's been plenty of theories and discussion, but there's never been an official word from LEGO as far as I'm aware, and no designer, producer, or anybody involved with Bionicle from 2008 to 2009 has ever come forward on the truth on what exactly happened. We do have plenty of confirmation what happened to the lime green pieces in 2006 to 7, but it seems like a definitive answer for the 2008 to 10 pieces being so brittle has never been really brought up or ever officially told by LEGO what exactly happened. And it seems really strange considering LEGO's good track record of durable pieces. Makes you wonder what exactly went wrong. So, I'm gonna get to the point where I cover this, but before I do that, I've decided I'm gonna show you my Broken Bionicle collection, as well as what exactly, or how exactly these pieces break. Now, Bionicle lasted for 9 years and had a ton of different pieces, but I'm going to go over these joints as they were the most common in its later years. As far as I'm aware, joints from 2001 all the way to 2005 hold up pretty solid. I mean, I've only ever experienced cracks and, the occasional piece that just kind of breaks on you, but these solid as a rock, meant to last. I can only think of these ever breaking through intense play. Then we get to 2005 to 6. These were introduced for the Vizorock. I forgot to mention these were introduced for the Metro Nui. But these were pretty neat joints. Of course, little did we know in 2005 how important they'd be. But yeah, all in all, really good. But unfortunately, this is where the cracking started to become more of an issue. And especially with lime green pieces. From 2006 to 7, these would frequently crack. And now we have the bastard 2008 to 10 broken piece joint. Now, you may be seeing there's a plus rod in there. And so Skrull has this weird hook thing, and when I was younger, I put it back here. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, that piece broke off, and it's permanently stuck in there. But anyway, as you can see, this was my would-be attempt. You can actually see some remaining tape in there. This tape's probably like 10 years old. Anyway, you can also see the remnants of glue. Did everything I could to try and save the limb, but unfortunately, it just doesn't hold up. So the best way to describe the current issue is at hand. Now, of course, generally most end up like this. Of course, if you keep playing with the thing, it'll end up like that for me. And I have a few examples right here. But generally, they start like this. There's a little bit of cracks. And they become almost unusable. By this point, it's not even usable anymore. See? It's just barely latching on. The system, how it works... If I can get this thing to focus. The way the system works is that it's a ball and socket system. So, the ball, in theory, is supposed to be in a strong socket. But unfortunately, wow, you saw how easy I pulled that out? The 2008 redesign suffers from that. Now, I think a good demonstration would be this. This is a 2009 Bionicle hand. It was meant to replace the old one that I just held. And you can see basically brand new at this point. It's literally brand new. You can see right there that there is no cracks to be found. This is literally factory brand new. But when I do this, the camera falls and we cut to black. The joint is strong on very well. It's good. But what causes the break is that the socket isn't strong enough to hold it for long. And so over time, when this is taken off, it will cause cracks again and again. So let's do that again. And already I see a crack forming. And unfortunately, that was the problem with the design, the new redesign. It wasn't as durable as the original design. The original design was really reinforced. It was strong, it was meant to last. But unfortunately, the new design just wasn't strong enough to hold on. And it caused a lot of cracks, like you can see right there. And unfortunately, the system just, well, wasn't good. And so, LEGO completely threw it out the window in 2010 and replaced it with CBS. Now, say what you want about CBS, but it's a very strong system. I've only ever seen a few cases of it really breaking, but it's pretty durable. Whatever you think of the CCBS, that's what it's spelled? Okay, Character Creature Building System. Well, you learn everything new. Say what you want about, I'm just going to call it the Hero Factory system. Say what you want about the Hero Factory system, but I think it's more durable and more prolonged, but I'll still always prefer these guys, because I mean, I grew up with this generation, and it holds a special place in my heart. So starting off with my first Bionicle, obviously appropriate, I will give a viewer note that, like I said earlier, this is basically a replica at this point, as I failed to mention that I lost Gresh's foot when I moved to another apartment, and the shield piece also went missing at some point too. These are modern replacements I got from a thrift store, so thank you for whoever did that. And also, I do want to mention, I did chew these when I was a kid. I was an idiot, so you know, I'm sure we all were idiots. Also, viewer note, I don't have any of these left. I only have 2, and they're put away with all my other Lego pieces, and it would just take too much time. Anyway, so we have Gresh here, and like I stated earlier, this is his original torso, and it didn't exactly hold up to the best of times. Like I said, this is a current replacement, but unfortunately, I forgot to mention something about the 2008 pieces. They're very stiff they're very stiff and slippery. I don't know if this is a result of dust, or if that's just something that occurs with Bionicles, and this only happened to mine because it was sitting on a shelf, because all the other Bionicles haven't been on shelves for very long, but the 2009 ones I usually put on shelves. Anyway, you got standard Gresh, and you can already see that he's got tons of cracks, and the only way he can stand up correctly is to lean on something with his big head over there. Tarduck, unfortunately, his lime pieces, or not lime, his dark green pieces broke, and I had to replace those. And I mean, he's a simple Agori. It doesn't look like he's suffering from any cracks, so these joints seem to be a lot more tough compared to the other ones, so perhaps Lego did catch on that they were breaking, but for whatever reason they didn't do anything for the other ones. And look, we've got some more broken. Sorry, Tarduck. But comparing him to Kitongu, he's definitely held up better. I don't see any cracks on... I spoke too soon. Yeah, so basically 2008 was where the cracking occurred. Fuck. So 2007 was definitely... Fuck. Alright, 2006 was where the cracking occurred, and that's the reason why they wanted to redo the joints, but ironically, they made it worse. So, that's my first Bionicle that was broken, and now let's check out some of the other ones. So yeah, I just decided screw it, I'm not going to show them one by one, I'm going to have them with a little buddy, as they would be during a competition. Now, here's Skrull and Vorox with Zusk and Atticus, I think it is. Or Attic? I don't know. It's been, oh my god, it's been like 10 years, Jesus. Anyway, basically, seems like these guys have held up pretty well, but don't be fooled. They're cracking. No, actually, they're not. Seems like Atticus actually held up, oh, never mind. Seems like Atticus actually held up pretty well. His glow-in-the-dark thing still works, just in case you're wondering, audience. But you probably don't care, because you know about that. Skrull, on the other hand, not so much. Like I said, this piece was replaced because the original one was broken, as you saw in that piece. And he's basically like Gresh at this point, because he was the second most played Bionicle. And as you can see, there are cracks occurring. Come on, focus. There you go. There are cracks occurring, and the figure is kind of wobbly, but you know, I mean, that's just because of the pose he's at, and also, he's a hunchback. So... yeah, he's held up okay. We get to the really bad show over here, which is Zesk. And as you can see, Zesk's foot broke a long time ago. I broke that as early as 2009. And his other foot is also broken. And his limbs are cracked, and thankfully none of them have broken because I don't have any replacements for them. But unfortunately, in 2010, I think it was, he did break his, similar to how Gresh broke right here, and how Terex broke, which I'll show you later, Zesk broke as well. And I managed to fix that with courtesy of glue. And that's where I've come up with this debate, whether or not I should permanently glue these figures, but at the same time, I may end up buying replacement pieces and I don't want to do that. But at the same time, these are the original pieces I played with. So I guess that can be a debate in the comments section below. Should I glue these together permanently, making them unbreakable, or should I keep them as is so I can replace them and possibly let my future children play with them? Moving on from Zesk, we have Vorox, I think I never broke any pieces for. Of course, everything seems intact. Of course, you've got your usual crack. I know his tailpiece did break, and I replaced that. That was the one I showed you earlier. You remember that piece. But, other than the blue pins that LJ is famous for. I think he's pretty much almost intact from 2009. So yeah, let's move on to the next set of broken Glatorians. So in terms of these groups, they're the most demolished, I'd say.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I forgot to mention that I did get 3 Glatorians. I got Gello, Kina, and we'll show you Akar! So yeah, like I pointed out earlier, the Mighty Strack, unfortunately, he had a foot injury some time ago, and he hasn't held up that well. He's also got several cracks. Unfortunately, like some of the other Bionicles, his pieces I don't have a lot of. So if he breaks, you gotta glue it up or do something. And unfortunately, the piece holding his head is very weak, as he cannot hold his head up anymore. And fun fact, that piece actually broke. There's no way. There you go. That piece actually broke, and I had to glue it back together because it broke. And I didn't have another piece like it, so I obviously had to reuse it. And unfortunately, he's broken. Mantis, doesn't seem like there's any broken pieces. Of course he's cracking up, but he's probably one of the better Agori, because he's all original. There's no modifications whatsoever. Every piece is original. Gello is original as well. He was one of the last Glatorian legends I ever got, as I kind of left Bionicle for a little bit. Barracks, on the other hand, is he's mostly original, but unfortunately he recently broke his hand piece. I have it stuck there, but you can see that that piece is not supposed to be like that. Teryx, as you saw in the beginning of this video, is completely demolished. His leg piece completely broke off, and I discovered that was because of the glue. I guess when I re-glued this in 2009, it just gave the thing too much pressure. You can see another piece was just terrible condition. So I may update later on if I ever fix him. I do plan on buying replacement Bionicle pieces, but I'm definitely going to buy 2006 era. Anyway, Kina is the most recent Bionicle I've bought, and unfortunately she's suffering what her predecessors would have suffered if I had owned her, and she already has several cracks. So yes, fortunately Teryx is my most destroyed, and because I don't have any extras of his pieces, he's gonna be like that for a little while. So I decided to do Showcase 3 with a couple guests. Now, of course, we have the red characters, but we also have 2 other characters I got in 2009. Now, I vividly remember these were on clearance, as they were trying to get rid of the Mystica stock at my local Target, and so I picked up Kreka, oh, it's Krika, my bad, the Mascuda Kreka, and, or Krika, damn it, why do they gotta make the name so confusing? Anyway, I decided to pick him up, and like the others, he has weak limbs, and of course they're breaking, and had to replace the back. And yeah, that's pretty much him. I also have Onua, who I got on clearance as well. And also, if you're wondering where the ammo is, I threw it away when I was younger. And unfortunately, I don't have replacements. I have replacements for Krika, but it's too deep in the collection. Now, yeah, it was a pretty cool Bionicle, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know the story at the time, so I was confused on who this character was. And it wouldn't be till years later that I found out he was also a OG Bionicle. And he had quite relevance. Unfortunately, though, his 2008 look is very controversial, but we don't need to get into that, do we? Akar is pretty destroyed, but actually he's destroyed for another reason. You see, Christmas of 2009, I got this set, pictured right here, and Akar. And unfortunately, I was not counting on my dog. He found Akar and chewed him up, as well as the Thornatus, and I don't think the driver was there. The red character, I don't even know his name. He's got like no story influence. And unfortunately, he destroyed a car. his feet were completely destroyed, and my parents decided to throw the pieces away. They kept any components that they felt were salvageable, like the flame. There's hardly any bite marks. There was another orange, I'm assuming that got thrown away as well. But yeah, I've replaced it with really lousy Hero Factory feet, because, you know, he's such a big guy. And I will buy replacement pieces, and I replaced it with this really cool, Ignika, piece. But anyway, that's a car. He's, not really, I'd consider the broken type. Of course, he does someone else, but let's move on to the runt of the litter. We've got Ranu. He's probably the second most demolished figure. As you can see, his legs are almost entirely broken. His second leg is breaking, and his first one has already broken. And he even has little cracks on his arms right there. And that's a little unusual considering all the other guys who have these types of arms or legs. They're not cracking whatsoever. So yes, unfortunately, a very delicate figure, and way past his prime. Malum, on the other hand, is basically replacement pieces all the way. You can already see a replacement piece breaking, and there's probably more on the way. These pieces break commonly because he's such an unorthodox figure. The way he was constructed, unfortunately, just leads to a lot of issues. And as you can see, I replaced it with a Metru limb because they're the most sturdiest. And you can see that there's cracks on both sides. This is probably the most cracked figure, although we'll see. That remains to be seen. But yeah, he's basically replica pieces at this point because, you know, a lot of him broke. But let's move on to the Titans of 2009. And here are my two favorite Bionicles from 2009. Now, what a spoiled kid I was. I got the whole Winter Wave, basically, and a couple of other sets sprinkled in there. I probably would have gotten the full wave of 2009 if I hadn't gotten over my Bionicle ordeal. What could have been? Anyway, so yeah, here are the two Titans. We have basically Pharaoh and Skirmix, I think it is. Pharaoh and Skirmix. I don't know. It's been so long. And then we have the Mighty Tumor. The memes of the Legend Reborn movie. As if anyone remembers that. I might do a video about that. We'll see. So Tuma, I actually don't know how much of him is original. Because here's an interesting story. I actually lent him to a friend for a while, and he eventually took it apart, and I ended up getting him back from him. But of course, I don't know how many pieces were original. Of course, as you can see, I later found out that some of those pieces turned out to be Ignika. So, I'd say only about half of him is original, because it seems like there's a bunch of other pieces from other stuff. But yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. He's held up pretty badly in the back. Those pieces, they're very stressed. I don't play with this anymore, so obviously, you know, it doesn't have any major new cracks. But, yes, he is cracking a bit in some really bad places. But, for the most part, yeah, he's pretty intact. I'm just gonna call it Skirmix because the name's too hard for me to say. Has held up pretty badly, I'm not gonna lie. These pieces that hold the supports both broke. That's broken. That's cracking right there. This one is fully broken, so when you try and pose him, it obviously, you know, just goes badly. Pharaoh, I think it's his name. Pharaoh himself has been broken, and I don't know why that sounded really funny to me. He's been broken a few times, and I've actually replaced him mostly with other parts. So he's pretty much not original. The tail is actually cracking really bad. When I discovered this in the container, the tail was separated. So yeah, these pieces do not hold up well at all. His hand is or his little claws are, they're very loose for some reason. I don't know why that is. Looks like this one's okay. But yes, Skirmix seems to be pretty intact, although there are a lot of major cracks that I'm not very happy about at all. But I mean, you know, there's not much I can do about it. I may go back and buy replacement Bionicle pieces for this at some point, but I don't currently have these on display, so I don't think I will. But yeah, that's that wave. So bonus round for the Bionicle Stars and Hero Communism. Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty much the same story. The Rockshi actually held up pretty well, even though I played the heck out of this guy. I was a big fan of the Rockshi, so much so, I think they were the first collection I actually completed from the original wave, when I got all 6 Rockshi, because I wanted the whole family. And I don't actually see any cracks, so I may have played with them pretty well. I don't think never mind. There we go, there's a crack right there. And what do you know, there's another one. I spoke too soon. Nectan, on the other hand, I frickin' destroyed him. He's pretty destroyed, and I made him a Taraga for oh my god. I made him a Taraga for some reason. I don't know why exactly. Looks like I used one of Hadraxon's pieces for some reason. And then, I took Wenua's staff. But anyway, yeah, this is, I guess, my mock of Nectan, because I broke his leg, and I actually still have that piece. It's just somewhere around here. And, I guess I tried giving him teeth, because that looks like what that might be. I think I was trying to replicate the 2006 Bionicle, and maybe I broke it like that. I honestly don't know, because he's obviously been modified in some way, and I find it kind of funny looking at an old modification. It's like really weird. Okay, Nectan has just left the building. He just fell on the ground right now. Anyway, who cares? So moving on to Takanuva. He has a couple cracks. His arms are really loose, but the main deal about him is he's the only Bionicle I have whose head is actually broken. So I came up with a weird system where I actually stole some school glue and glued it to his head so I could have the posability thing, but, you know, have to constantly, you know, hold it like this. So unfortunately, yeah, he is really broken. Then finally we move on to Hero Communism, and it seems like LEGO was catching wind that the pieces were breaking as they tried reinforcing them somewhat. I mean, you can see these are definitely different compared to the 2009 to 10 joints. But, you know, obviously it didn't do much because they still broke like it was nobody's business. And yeah, these guys broke as well. I don't see any broken joints on Breeze, but, you know, Furno's a different story. Just get out of here. Furno's a different story. He's broken in that way. Oh no, he's an armless comrade. Comrade stolen. Daisies to the gods. Alright, well that was a tour of all my broken Bionicles. Now, let's get into the real business of what I really want to know, and the afterthought of this video. Now, I'm no expert on toys, so this is just a theory. I'm not saying this is confirmation, but I'm gonna try. So, my first theory is that it was a redesign gone wrong. Like I stated before, the 2006 to 7 pieces were notorious for cracking, and I have a theory that the 2009 pieces were intended to fix the issue. Of course, I have no proof of this, but why would a redesign happen when a system has only been around for 2 years? Unless something happened at the factory where a rechange was needed for whatever reason. But it's interesting. There's one piece of evidence that proves that this redesign came late in the development stage. From a Russian documentary about the behind the scenes of Bionicle, there's actual photos of Mystica and Makuta prototypes, and you can see clearly they're using 2007 joints. And when they show the finished product, it's 2008 joints. So it's clear to see that the redesign didn't come until possibly 2008, and it was more or less an afterthought. But that begs the question, why a redesign? This piece was fine on its own. Sure, it cracked, but why a redesign? It's always been the big question. Why? Why replace something when it doesn't need fixing? Unless they were trying to fix it. And that's why I speculate that this was meant to replace this. But it went wrong. So theory number 2. It was a cooling error. Now, it's not like this hasn't happened in Bionicle. I mean, we have the infamous lime green joints that were commonly broken in 2007 because of a cooling error, and it's possible that the same thing could have befell our 2008 to 2010 joints. Now, a problem this wide scale, it's kind of crazy to think that it went unchecked for almost 3 years. I mean, these toys are play tested from what we know, and you think they would have figured it out that these joints obviously cracked, but maybe the kids weren't putting enough pressure. Who knows, whatever the reason, it went unnoticed. But eventually LEGO did catch wind as they replaced it with the CCBS system, which infamously was used by Hero Communism. But it makes one wonder, what exactly happened? Was it a cooling error? Or maybe it was some redesign that went wrong, like I said earlier. The cooling error is always a possibility, but it's always possible that maybe they just didn't know they were as fragile as they were. I don't want to go on record saying that LEGO purposely gave their customers brittle pieces, but at the same time, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that it's likely they didn't know about it, but they eventually did find out about it, which is why we've got replacement pieces and the Bionicle pieces were phased out. I mean, one has to look how quickly 2010 got the Bionicle system, and then immediately it was dropped in favor of a new system. It's clear that they eventually caught on to it, but of course, the full details, we may never know what exactly went on behind closed doors, why the redesign happened, or what exactly were the details, and was it necessary? Or did the creators just want a redesign? I mean, there's always the possibility they just wanted more slimmer looking pieces, but then again, 2006 had slim looking pieces. It's just a mystery that really no one can definitively answer because we've never had a confirmation from LEGO. We can only really speculate, and at the end of the day, it isn't really that relevant anymore. LEGO's a great company, and their pieces are hella durable, but this may have just been one fluke in their record of perfection. Now, of course, maybe one day we'll get a little more information on what exactly happened, but it doesn't seem like we're ever going to know the truth, as it's more of a fluke. 2008 to 9 just had some of the worst track records of durability. It's simple as that. But in the end, we can speculate all we want, come up with our theories, wonder why, how, and if LEGO really knew, or if, just like them, they were shocked like us. But in the end, like any good mystery, it may just remain unsolved for a while. Alright everybody, F in the chat for Terex, 2009 to 2020. Well, time to put away the old dog. Good memories, but gotta move on. Anyway, hi Mask Maker Buddy, and remember, have a happy Halloween.